What's up YouTube, Dale here from wargames, bringing you both a couple of side decking options and how to build a side deck. So for those of you who don't know, a side deck is basically comprised of 15 cards that you can put into your deck in replace of other cards after game 1 and during after game 2 as well. To kind of help give you that advantage, once you know what your opponent's playing, you put in cards that maybe be outs to their deck or would just help your deck against theirs. So it's 15 cards, and now I'm basically going to take you through a couple of monsters, a couple of spells, a couple of traps that I think are really great at this moment in time. And then what I'll do is I'll show you, we'll kind of build out of these cards, we'll build a 15 card extra deck, and I'll explain to you why I've chosen those cards. So it's kind of help you guys out there that don't know exactly what to put into your side deck, how to help you guys out. So we'll start off with the monsters. Now the monsters are quite simple because you want to be minimal. So basically what you've got to think about is you've got to take into consideration what your opponent's going to put in against you. So if you know the weaknesses of your deck as well, because side decks are sometimes really generic and there's the odd little text that are deck specific, sometimes you have to side for their side. So for example, if you're playing a pendulum deck, they're going to be putting in anti-spell fragrance, so you want to be putting in more back row hate like MSTs, Twin Twisters and Cosmic Cyclones so that they doesn't resolve and you can continue making your plays. So that's just a quick example on that one. So monsters, we go with Gameciel, the Sea Turtle Kaiju. Now this can be any type of Kaiju. The ratio that most people are playing in their extra decks at the moment are 2 Interactive Kaiju Summon, which is a spell, and then 4 Kaijus, all of different names. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. Now this is a hand trap. You're either going to main these or you're going to side these along with your other hand traps such as Flying Sea, DD Crow, Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, and Droll and Lockbird. Now these 5 cards, more so probably Ash Blossom, Droll and Ghost Ogre are the highest played kind of hand traps at this moment in time, not including Maxi, because the way I see it is Maxi is you either main it or you don't. Ash Blossom and Ghost being very good but quite expensive at this moment in time. Well, Ghost you can probably pick up for about $5, and then Droll and Lockbird is probably the main card that could do outs to pretty much every deck. So like I said, if you don't main some of these cards, or these 3 mainly, you would side them in. And then finish it off with Denko Sekka. Now this can be a Jinzo if your deck can viably play Jinzo properly, just because you get a bigger beta. But Denko Sekka is in there to kind of deal with all those back rows, so like any trap heavy decks or stuff like that. You could also put stuff like Vanity's Fiend and Majesty's Fiend in this deck as well to stop the special summons. But the issue that we've got at the moment in time is the meta is a little bit jumbled because of A, the new ban list and the introduction of Pendulum Magicians coming back next week. So with the introduction of Pendulum Magicians, yes, they special summon, but then you've got the Draco. So are Draco Demise going to be the next big thing, or are they going to be able to, or Zoo's still going to be around? Okay, now onto the spells. Twin Twister. Now this can be any style of back row hate that you want. This can be Cosmic Cyclones, this could be MSTs. It's really down to you. So that is any type of back row hate that you really want to play. Defissure. Now Defissure is a personal choice of mine purely because if you have the ability to clear it off or it doesn't affect you, it's actually really good to side against hand traps. Now more so Droll and Lockbird and Ghost Ogre because they say they have to go to the graveyard. Whereas Defissure doesn't let them go to the graveyard, they get banished instead. So Ash Blossom is probably the only one that says discard. So if a card says discard, it doesn't matter where it ends up, as long as you've got rid of it in your hand, the effect applies. Whereas Droll and Lock, Ghost Ogre, they can't be activated if they're going to get banished. Zombie World, purely because it stops the tribute summon. So this is a counter to Dracos, because you set this in your field spell. If you don't need to worry about your field spell zone, neither player can tribute summon monsters except zombie type monsters, so they can't tribute off basically. Book of Eclipse. Now this is really good if you can clear your opponent's board. If you can't clear your opponent's board, I wouldn't recommend doing it, but it just deals with all your problem cards like your Dryadents and your Masterpieces if they're not unaffected by spells, by flipping them face down and they can't really do anything. It also helps against Crystal Wing because you don't target it or you're not destroying it. And then when cards are flipped face down, they lose all their immunities, so which is very helpful and useful. Interactive Kaiju Summon to go with your Kaijus, and then Necro Valley is another very good one. Again, it's more deck specific, but it can be very helpful because it stops your opponent moving cards around in the graveyard, and it also stops them banishing for stuff like Masterpiece. Now onto traps. Now we play a heavier trap lineup. Now the way I see the trap lineup is there a like a one hit kind of thing. If you lose game 1, you're going to want to choose to go first. So you put more traps in so you can set your back row and off you go. Now you don't want to mess up your consistency of your deck too much. You just want to put the right amount of traps in. But then going second, you want to take some of the traps out because obviously the traps need that turn to be set and you don't really have that time to waste going second because your opponent will have MSTs, Twin Twisters, whatever, so it will just be wasted cards. Anyway, so we start off with D-Barrier. Now D-Barrier obviously will hit the pendulums when they come out as well, but you have to do it at the right time to stop the certain summons because with pendulum decks, because they have the ability to pendulum, XYZ, synchro, and possibly fusion sometimes, you have to get it at the right time. Otherwise it can be a little bit inconsistent for you. Other than that, hitting zoos and stuff like that is straightforward. Mind Drain. Now this is another one that people have suggested to deal with hand traps because there is a big uplift in hand traps because the way I see it is if you go first, you've got to be worried about hand traps, but your opponent wants to have hand traps in their hand during game 1 so that they can disrupt you as much as possible. So I see D-Fissure as a better out to that because if you can activate that there and then. Whereas Mind Drain, your opponent can do a heck of a lot of stuff and Mind Drain is useless. Mind Drain is probably best against dinos going first, because if you go first against Dino True King, you activate this during their turn, they can't then activate any of their True Kings because their effects activate in hand, and then it stops their hand traps, but it also stops yours, so it means their diagram can go off without question. Anti-Spell Fragrance. Now with Pendulums coming back, Anti-Spell is a must-have card. There are easy outs to it in the Pendulum decks because you can bounce it with Ignista. You can, if you open up a Galaxy Cyclone, Twin Twister, MST, you can chain it to Anti-Spell and pop it, which is also very, very good. Chaos Trap Hole is basically your Solemn Warning. Now, if you're not maining your Solemn Warnings and you're not maining the Strikes, they would be in here too. But Chaos Trap Hole is just another out for me personally to deal with Masterpiece because he can be a royal pain in the butt. Master Restrict, again, to deal with those Dracos. They can be really annoying. Dracos do have outs to this, so it's not a must-have, but it is very, very useful if you get it off. Imperial Order, some people are maining this card. You can side it as well. It deals with all spells, so if you play a lesser spell count, or again, if you're playing Dracos and you can get rid of it whenever you want, it's still a very, very good card. Lose on turn. Now, again, more specific to Dracos, however, for stuff like Phantasm Spirals, sorry guys, for stuff like Phantasm Spirals that are normal monsters, they don't get affected by this. So playing Lose One Turn or siding Lose One Turn in can be a very, very nice stall card for your opponent if they're going to go Special Summon, and they tend to want to use the effects of their monsters, or they're playing to go all out beat mode. Hitting them with a Lose One Turn, shifting them to defense, stops them for a turn and allows you to set up your board and go again. Magic Drain to go against Pendulums, purely because not many Pendulum players, they probably have 3/4 of the deck are Pendulum monsters, and about 10%, the last quarter is about spells. So you have a very high chance of using Magic Drain to negate the activation of one of their scales, which is very, very useful. And then finish it off with Rivalry of the Warlords and Gozen Match. Now, Gozen Match only allows each player to control one attribute type of monster, and Rivalry allows only one type, so like Warrior, Spellcaster, stuff like that. So, for example, if the Pendulum Magicians have Fire, Water, and Wind, if you hit them when they put down one Wind, they're locked into Wind monsters while that monster's still on the field. Rivalry, if they played Spellcasters, Warriors, and stuff like that. So, for example, in the Zoo matchup, when they go into Emerald, if you hit them with Rivalry, they're stuck on Rock monsters. They can't really do anything. Same with Gozen Match. They're stuck on Wind monsters. They can't really extend much further than that. So it's a very, very nice stall and slow down card, especially if you're only playing one type, which again in Dracos you only play Worms. So it's very, very helpful. Right, so that's kind of a breakdown of the cards that, I might have missed some off. These aren't everything. These are just the predominant ones that I feel play a significant role in the game as we know and love it right now. So, what I'm going to do right now for you guys is I'm going to try and build you a side deck. So this is a side deck that I'm taking into consideration Dracos, Zoos, Pendulums, and then the odd cards that are just generically massively good. And I'll use it all from these cards here. I will double up the Kaijus, I will say, because 9 times out of 10, that's kind of the first place to start, is you start off with the Kaijus. So you start off with one Kaiju, start off with 4 Kaiju, sorry, 2 Interrupted Kaiju Slumbers, Sorry, let me just drag the rest out for you guys. So you start off, this is, you know, purely because sometimes your opponent will have bigger monsters that you can't deal with. And Interactive Kaiju Slumber not only dark holes the board, but it also gives you the ability to have some of these big beaters on board. So you go with 4 different names. Usually you're going Gamma Seal because it's the weakest. You're then going Kumongus, the Sticky String Spider, because it's the second weakest. Then you have Dugoroban and Jizukuru because they're both nearly enough the strongest. And then you play 2 Interactive Kaiju Slumbers because not only does this search, you can banish this to search one of these guys out. You can dark hole the board, and then obviously give yourself the higher Kaiju, give them the weaker Kaiju, and you have plays to go stronger. Right. Now, if I'm not maining these, 9 times out of 10, I will try to main some form of combination of the hand traps between Ash Blossom, Droll and Lockbird, and Ghost Ogre. Now, I'll probably only have the ability to main 2, so 2 copies. So I would probably end up maining 2 Droll and Lockbirds, purely because they're just an out and out to this game. So, my then choice for you guys to side would be to side 2 of each of these. Now, I'm the type of player that likes to side in 2s to give myself more variety to try and cover more bases. Now you can side in 3s of each. That's completely down to you. That is down to personal preference. My personal preference, like I said, is I prefer to have 2s of cards so that I have more variety. I can cover more decks that way. So straight away, that is 10 of your 15 cards already chosen and done for you. You now then really, the remaining 5 cards is then down to deck specifics and what you feel you're going to be facing. So these are generic outs. These will pretty much out any deck you play against. So these will out Dinos, Zoos, Dracos, Pendulums, everything. Exact same with Kaijus. If they put an indestructible monster on the board, or if they fill their board up, you board wipe them with Interactive Kaiju Slumber. Your next 5 spaces are then, like I said, down to you. They're down to which you prefer, but at this moment in time, with the meta, I would say go with either double or triple anti-spell fragrance. I personally feel that you're going to be facing quite a lot of Pendulums with their introduction back. And then the issue is, if they open up, it's not the bad thing to open up with triple anti-spell, because if you open up with triple anti-spell, you have the ability to continue going. So triple anti-spell is definitely an option. Because if you open up triple anti-spell, they can chain MST to this anti-spell, and then you flip the next anti-spell, and you still kind of lock them out of the game. So triple anti-spell is not a bad thing. Like I said, my personal preference is I like to have variety. But saying that, because of the pure fact that my Kaijus are kind of doing quite a lot of the work for me, and so is my hand trap Ghost Ogres. Going first, if I lose the first game, and putting in anti-spell fragrance could be near enough invaluable in the build. Right, now wrapping up. So we've got 2 more spaces left. Now this is where it definitely comes down to deck specifics, because if you think you're going to be playing a hell of a lot of back row, Denko Sekka. If you think you're going to be playing a hell of a lot of XEs, Flying C. Or if you just want generic cards that you think are always going to be helpful, which is what I try to aim for, I could probably go for 2 Book of Eclipse, purely because I know if my opponent flips a board and they have something that's immune or something that's going to deal me a lot of issues that I can't Regeki or just Dark Hole straight over, Book of Eclipse can flip it all face down, and I can push for game that way. D-Barrier is also a very, very important one. I try to keep my traps to a minimum in the side deck. I try to main my traps more so than, because then they're easier side out. So you want to give yourself as less a headache as you possibly can. Anyway, that is kind of my ideal. So for the upcoming meta, including Euros, I would say these top cards, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. These 13 cards are near enough a must. You can take this out if you want, and then you can bump these guys up. So you could even play these at 3. Like I said, my personal opinion, I want variety. So I want the ability to play D-Barrier and Book of Eclipse if need be. Anyway, I hope this helps. I hope this gives you kind of an idea of building a side deck. I hope this gives you a step forward. Now, if you do have budget restraints, anti-spells are about £10 each. Like I said, if you can pick up 2 straight away, that's fine. Ghost Ogres you can pick up at a £5. Ash Blossoms you can take out and put in stuff like DD Crows or Droll Lock Bugs. Again, Droll Lock Bugs are still like a tenner, but they're still cheaper than the Ash Blossoms are going for at the moment. Kaiju Engine, they're all kind of cheap alternatives. All the rares are kind of like £2 each. Interrupted Slumber is about £4 to £5 each. And then the Gamma Seal is probably the most expensive, but again, you can put in the Moth one. That's kind of the 2700 attack. So you kind of get rid of your weakest one, but it's still the option for you. And then obviously there are other alternatives like MSTs, Twin Twisters and stuff like that. So, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. And until next time guys, as always, happy dueling. If you like that video, why not check out our other videos available. We've got more deck profiles, pack openings, and of course duels. And don't forget to click on the most important button of all, that subscribe button, right in the bottom left hand corner.